Thank you, everyone. I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank Commissioner Evans, Chief Fandaka, Chief Hooley, and Tom Grilk from the BAA. We're here to talk about what we're going to do to make sure the 121st Boston Marathon is safe and enjoyable for all people who are in our city and people who come to our city to enjoy it. The marathon certainly is a celebration of our love of our city, and it's a symbol of our collective strength and resilience. It's a time when Boston comes alive in a special way, when we rally around our community to show people that we have truly one community. I'll begin by giving some announcements about this weekend, and then we'll talk about Marathon Monday. Building up to the marathon, we have a great weekend of races and events in the city. On Saturday, we have the BAA 5K, the Invitational Mile, and the Kids Relay. At various times throughout the weekend, streets in the Back Bay will be closed to traffic, and no parking will be allowed. So we're also encouraging people to find alternate ways to get into the city on Saturday, Sunday, and on Monday. Take the MBTA, use a bike from our rental bike share systems or other ways around the city. Beginning on Monday at 5 a.m., several streets along the marathon route will be closed to all traffic. Commissioner Fandaka from the Transportation Department will speak more about the expected road closures happening this weekend and on Marathon Monday. I invite anyone to check out, if you have any information that you're looking for, go to boston.gov/marathon to learn more about the route, road restrictions, and more events for the weekend. We have a comprehensive safety plan in place for Marathon Monday itself. For the past 4 years, we've greatly increased our public safety resources and taken significant measures to ensure safety along the marathon route. This year will be no different. We're working closely and sharing information with the FBI and our intelligence community, locally and internationally, and that's as well as working with the state, MBTA police, and other local authorities along the route. And I want to make it clear at this time, there is no credible threats to this event at all. Rest assured, we are prepared to know how to operate in many different situations, and we've been working on it since the last marathon. The Office of Emergency Management will activate the Emergency Operations Center to coordinate with city agencies to execute any city operation plans. We are working closely with the BAA and MEMA and other local partners. We'll have thousands of police officers along the route, monitoring activity in the land and also by the air. Many officers will be undercover working into the crowd, and we'll be installing cameras along the parade route. Tactical resources will be close to the marathon finish line and throughout the whole marathon route. Starting at 8 o'clock on Monday morning, enhanced security checkpoints will be in place. We're asking the public to help us in efforts to keep this organized effort to be safe and to also be patient. We're asking the public also to help us. If you see anything out of the ordinary, please let a police officer know or a public safety official along the route, or you can call 911. If you have a drone, do not take it into the marathon. We are not allowing drones to be in the marathon under any circumstances. And it's the same as last year. We're asking people to use clear bags if you need to bring belongings at all in the city. I encourage you to try and leave your bags at home. There's no reason for it. Just try and use your pockets, and if you do use a bag, use a clear bag. We're also going to see an increased security presence should make people feel more comfortable, not concerning. We will have, like last year, we'll have police officers on the route, undercover on the streets, and we're asking you to work with the police department. If they ask you to do something, we ask you to do it, not to be confrontational. I have complete confidence in all of our public safety personnel that will keep our city safe from harm and make the marathon as successful as it has been in the past. I also want to take a moment to thank all the volunteers who generously donated their time and their resources to support the marathon. It's going to be a beautiful day. On my notes, I have mid-60s, but I'm hearing it could be as high as 70. I don't know how great it's going to be for the runners. It'll be great for the spectators. I hope you can join us on the marathon route and at the finish line and cheering on all the great runners that are going to be running in this marathon. I look forward to seeing you all there. And I also want to thank the press for the coverage because you help us get our message out. So thank you for the coverage of today and what you've been covering all week. Now I'd like to invite the police commissioner to say a few words, and he'll be followed by Chief Hooley from EMS, Commissioner Fandaka from Transportation, and then Tom Grilk will say a few comments, and then we'll take questions at the end. Commissioner.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. And again, we got a busy weekend ahead, like the mayor said. We got the convention going on starting this afternoon. We got a good crowd up there already. We have a lot of police visibility up there, and that goes through the weekend. Obviously, we have the memorial ceremony, the 5K, the mile races, and the kids' races. And then Sunday night, obviously, we have the pasta dinner, and then Monday, obviously, we have the marathon early, we have the Red Sox game, and we have a Bruins game, playoff game at home that night. So a lot of exciting, events over the city, but we're ready for it. We have a great safety plan working with public and our private partners. We have a comprehensive safety plan that will make sure that it's a family fun day for both spectators as well as runners. All we ask is if you're coming to the event, especially Kenmore Square, Back Bay area early, that everyone take public transportation. Gina will get into it more, but, from 8 o'clock on east of Mass Ave is going to be closed. West of Mass Ave at 9 p.m. is going to be closed. And that whole area, Charles Street, is the new bus pickup for all the runners. That Charles Street area is going to be closed probably 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning when the runners start heading up to Hopkinton at 5:45 in the morning. Again, we'll have a large police presence out there with the green vests on. You'll see us, but we'll also have undercover officers embedded in the crowd. It's a multi-layered approach where we're going to ask people to go through checkpoints all along every entrance that leads from Audubon Circle on down to Arlington Street. We ask the public if they're coming, and they've been more than cooperative in years past. Please leave, backpacks at home if you don't have to bring them, shoulder bags, coolers, suitcases. We won't prevent you from coming to the area, but if you have those articles, you're going to be subjected to bag checks. We're working with our private security partners to ensure that that goes smoothly. Again, if you don't bring them, you won't be stopped and asked to open a bag. So please, the less people that bring them, the more orderly it will be. Also, if an area gets so congested along Boylston Street that our officers are not able to move freely behind the crowd, or our bomb explosive dogs can't move behind the crowd, then certain segments of Boylston Street are going to be closed, and we're going to ask spectators to move to another section of the course. We need to be able to work behind the crowd, and I ask everyone's cooperation. If we ask you to move to another block along Boylston Street, please cooperate with us. Newberry Street from Arlington to Mass Ave is going to be closed, and there'll be no parking on that street, so that's going to be a pedestrian walkway. So if you have to meet your loved ones, whether it's at the finish line or somewhere along, we ask you to do it by moving along Newberry Street, as well as Huntington Ave westbound from Belvedere to Dartmouth Street is going to be closed. So we'll have pedestrian walkways on both locations. Also, if you go into Fenway Park, we ask you again to get there early because there's going to be restrictions up there. And when the game ends, you might be directed away from Kenmore Square to Newberry Street Extension or back down towards the Sears corner, which is the Landmark Center, because of the crowds in Kenmore Square, basically. Again, I ask for everyone's cooperation on this. The FAA obviously has a no-fly zone, like the mayor said. We have drone detectors out there, so we ask everyone to leave their drones at home. But, the mayor stressed, and I want to stress, I just spoke with my intelligence people who speak with the FBI. There's no threats to this race, so I want everyone to feel comfortable coming in. We have a great security plan. It's supposed to be a beautiful day, and it's going to be a great weekend in the city of Boston. So with that, I'd like to introduce Chief Jimmy Hooley, who, with the warm weather, could obviously have his hands full, but Jimmy's going to talk about their response on Monday.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon. On behalf of all the women in Boston EMS, I just want to say that this is an annual event that we really look forward to. Yes, it's a lot of work. Yes, it always has its challenges preparing for, but it is a matter of pride for us to service not just this event, but the city that every year for that event. So for this year, as in years past, we have a multi-layered, very comprehensive plan. And the plan is not just simply focused on the participants, volunteers or spectators for this great event. But it also builds out to make sure that we have adequate response capabilities on both sides of the race course, that we beef up our capacity in Brighton, Back Bay, South End, downtown, as well as the neighborhoods, because we are aware that, any big event, 4th of July or big holiday, brings us challenges and more people in town. So we've beefed up considerably for that. There's I believe, 14 additional ambulances going to be assigned to the streets that day, in the neighborhoods, as well as probably a total of about 125 additional of our personnel above our normal complement. We're going to work very closely with the two main medical tents that we have downtown in the zone. Those tents play an important role because we have a lot of physicians in there. We can actually, minor cases can be discharged from there. Normally, we would have to bring these people to an emergency room. So a lot of these other patients, runners, what have you, that become ill or injured from the race, instead of going to an emergency room, they'll be able to be discharged from there. So that keeps the emergency rooms from getting overcrowded during that event. Another important thing is the Boston hospitals have staffed up incredibly for this. And that was even before the bombing attacks in 2013. The risk of warm weather or anything else, which could cause us a surge in patients, has the hospitals all staffed up extra, and they're well prepared for that as well. So the idea there is that folks who live in the communities, they shouldn't see any disruption of services coming in. And that's the basis of all of our special event planning. We want it to be safe and healthy for everybody who's attending the event, but we want everyone, whether you live in Hyde Park, whether you live in Brighton, East Boston, and you don't have a care about the thing, we want to make sure that your service isn't interrupted, and in fact, it should even be better on Monday. So thank you very much, and with that, I'll introduce Commissioner Van Duncan.
Thank you, everyone. With the related activities taking place all weekend long and leading up to Marathon Monday, the Back Bay and the surrounding areas in Boston will be very active with large numbers of people walking along our streets and our sidewalks, a huge pedestrian influx in those areas. And we welcome people to Boston to celebrate this exciting event with us. This is something that we look forward to every year. But if at all possible, we ask people to please leave your personal vehicles at home. Take public transportation and really minimize the inconvenience to yourself and to other motorists, and leave your personal vehicles at home. Throughout the weekend, there will be parking restrictions on many locations within the vicinity of the marathon and the marathon route. Not only on the Marathon Monday, but actually starting today with the events in Copley Square and all weekend long. There are events, as the Mayor and Commissioner Evans indicated, for the BAA 5K, the Invitational Mile. It's also Patriots Day on Monday with parades through downtown Boston. So on Saturday, I'll just run through some of the street closures and the locations that will be impacted. Charles Street between Beacon and Boylston will close at 6 a.m., and the BAA 5K will begin there at 9:30 a.m. Streets will close as approximately 10,000 runners progress along the route from Charles to Boylston to Arlington to Comm Ave outbound via the Mass Ave underpass to Charles Gate West to Comm Ave inbound via the Mass Ave underpass onto Hereford, Boylston, and then back to Charles Street. So that's for the 5K. The Invitational Mile will begin early in the afternoon and will require the closing of Boylston Street between Hereford and Clarendon, and in Newbury Street between Clarendon, Fairfield, and Exeter between Newbury and Boylston. So that's for the Invitational Mile later on Saturday afternoon. The kids' relay race will also start on Saturday afternoon at approximately 2 p.m. in the Copley Square Park. And we're expecting about 1,000 children that will run on Boylston Street between Clarendon and Dartmouth. And the streets affected by Saturday's events are all expected to reopen on Saturday afternoon at approximately 5 p.m. On Marathon Monday, Boylston Street from Berkeley to Arlington will close at noon on Sunday, the day before, and will not reopen until the marathon is over on Monday afternoon. And on Monday, Charles Street, adjacent to the Boston Common, will close at 5 a.m. Boylston, from Hereford to Berkeley, will close at 6 a.m. And the streets east of Mass Ave will close at 8 a.m. All of these streets are listed on our website. Streets in Brighton leading to the Marathon route will close at approximately 8:30 a.m. on Monday, and Boylston Street is expected to reopen on Monday night at approximately 8 p.m., and all other streets are expected to reopen shortly thereafter. All of this is posted on our website. Updates will be coming as things may change, but we want people to be informed. Again, public transportation is your best way to get around. You can see runners along the marathon route at different points, but with all of the events taking place, it makes it a whole lot easier and safer for everyone. Leave your backpacks and big bags at home and take advantage of everything that the city has to offer. This is a wonderful event, and we look forward to it every year. We work hard with our public safety partners and with the BAA to make sure that everyone knows what's going on and that they can take advantage of the games in the Fenway Park and the events for Patriots Day. We want to thank all of our partners, particularly those at the BAA, and now it's my distinct pleasure to introduce the CEO of the Boston Athletic Association, Tom Grelk.
Thank you, Commissioner, and my message is a simple one from us at the BAA on our behalf and that of 40,000 athletes who will begin running tomorrow, and the 10,000 plus volunteers who will serve them, and the hundreds of thousands of people who will come out to watch. We are simply grateful. It is gratifying to be the beneficiaries of the services of all of the public safety professionals whose leadership is represented here on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. This is a group of people with all of their colleagues who set a standard to which others can only aspire, and we say thank you to all of them.
Thank you, Tom. I just want to, two more quick things. One is, as the Commissioner talked about, we talked about police presence. There will be a large police presence in town, but there'll also be a police presence in the communities as well. We are not pulling resources from the neighborhoods to cover the marathon, number one. And number two, tomorrow is One Boston Day, so I ask anyone watching or listening to do a random act of kindness tomorrow. That's in spirit of the day. So there's, you can go on the website and see the different events, but if you just want to sweep in front of your house or help a neighbor, feel free. Questions?
Every year, I know there are different security concerns. How is this year going to be different from last year and previous years?
Well, I think you've noticed one of the tactics they've used lately, and I think we've seen it, is driving the trucks into crowds. So I think you've seen it with the last couple of protests. You know, all along the route from Audubon Circle, we'll have large trucks and machinery that nobody will be able to drive towards the marathon route, and unfortunately that's a new tactic that ISIS is promoting in their magazines and whatnot. So that's something that we started at New Year's, and we continue to use that. So last year, you know, we didn't have to use it so much, but this year that's a main concern. We're continually trying to make that route as secure as possible. And again, there's no threats, but that's one of the main ones. We're really locking down this route for any access on both sides of the route.
Do you have numbers in terms of officers that will be out there undercover and also?
As part of our plan, we don't, but I want to stress, like the mayor does, we will not pull any resources from the other neighborhoods to police this event. We're very much concerned about what happens in the neighborhoods. You know, stopping the violence and staying on top of that is our number one priority in the other neighborhoods. So we'll have sufficient officers throughout the city to accomplish our mission tomorrow.
Talk about how you the strategy for building barricades around people with using the DPW trucks. About how many would you be using, and what will people see so they know they're like inside a perimeter?
Well, I think if you went to the Women's March, where we had almost 175,000, you know, that whole route on every side street was a snow plow, a water and sewer truck, and people will be allowed freely to go by that. It's when they get closer, when they'll have to go to also through a multi-layered approach where we have undercover officers having eyes on people approach. We've sent a lot of our officers away in the last couple of weeks on behavioral recognition training to look at the characteristics of anyone who might possess a bomb. They'll have their eyes as officers as anyone approaches the barriers, and then there'll be bag checks. So it's a multi-layered approach, but the trucks will be out also providing a barrier should anyone want to drive a vehicle into the crowd. Again, I don't want to get people alarmed. There's no intelligence, but we live in a new world now where, unfortunately, these are the things that we have to take into consideration.
The new world, use of the new technology that you guys are going to be using. We've heard a little bit about the drones that are going to be monitoring the perimeter.
Yeah,
Can you
again,
speak
we
to that?
don't have drones in Boston. That's going to be used out at the starting line. We have the drone detection equipment that you might see on light poles along the route. Obviously, we have a lot more cameras than we ever had out there, giving us eyes and ears from our command center. We learned a lot of lessons from the tragedy that we had back in 2013. We have a major command center working with the BAA right inside the library. We have multiple command centers, the Emergency Operations Center run by Renee on Bragdon Street. We got quite an extensive crew of eyes and ears on that race, both physically as well as surveillance.
Commissioner, the potential threat from vehicles, is this something that can only be defended with physical barriers, or can you potentially spot vehicles as they're heading toward the route? Is there increased surveillance looking for these vehicles?
Well, throughout the routes there will be, obviously in Copley Square all the way to Audubon Circle, so they'll both be physical as well as, fixed structures from anyone ever dreaming of doing something like that. Let's hope that hasn't happened. And again, it's just a precaution. Again, the 30,000 runners should have a great race, and they shouldn't feel, insecure in any way.
A lot of protests, any rumblings of people trying to tag a protest down to the marathon or engaging?
No, I think tomorrow there was talk of some protests because it's a tax day, and it usually happens anyway on that day, but we've been working with them, trying to keep them away, especially from the Memorial Day celebration. I think that's sacred, and I would hope anyone who's thinking of ever protesting the Boston Marathon think back to the lives that were lost and the limbs that were lost that day, and I plead with them, choose another target because this is sacred ground. Please don't protest it.
1 million people or so you're anticipating, the weather's going to be nice?
Yeah, I think the crowds are going to be huge, and the spirit since the bombing has been amazing, and people are out there, some great causes, a lot of first-timers, so I encourage everyone to come out, cheer on everyone. There's nothing better than when you're hurting to have a crowd rooting you on at the end. So it's going to be a great day, and it's going to be a great weekend in the city.
Thank you, everyone.